We're going to have a Browns-Jets preview in just a moment, but I do want to get your opinion on who you got in this game, Cleveland or New York. Get in the comment section right now and let me know who you got, Brownies or Jets. What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here previewing this Week 17 Thursday night matchup from Cleveland, Ohio. 10-5 Browns take on the 6-9 New York Jets in what's going to be a revenge game for Joe Flacco against his former team that didn't bother to give him a call when Aaron Rodgers went down. And who knows, the Jets could be 9-6 right now had they had Flacco all season. Or a revenge for the entire Browns roster after the Jets pulled off an unbelievable, stunning comeback victory in Week 2 last season. But as always, let's get a little bit of a primer down by looking at these two teams and the numbers this year. So the Browns offense will face a Jets defense that is giving up 20.5 points per game. One number that jumped out to me here was the Browns' third down offense. I knew it wasn't terrific. Didn't realize it was that bad. 31.5% conversion percentage on third down. And, of course, a league-leading 32 turnovers. They've got to find a way to get that number down. I know they have won a lot of games despite losing the turnover battle, but that is not a theme you want to see in the playoffs against playoff-caliber teams. Now, as for the Jets' offense against the Browns' defense, Jets' offense averaging 15 points per game. Their third down is awful. It's 25. It is dead last in the league. Whereas the Browns' third down defense is number 1 in the league at 28.7. The red zone offense for New York is atrocious, but the Browns' red zone defense, not that much better either. And the Jets, by the way, they're not too far behind the Browns in turnovers. They have 30, and the Browns' defense has 25 takeaways. Now, Zach Wilson will not be playing on Thursday. He is still in concussion protocol. The Jets have already announced that Zach Wilson will not be available. So with no Zach Wilson, we're going to have to see Trevor Siemian, which leads us to our first key to victory for the Browns against the Jets. Harass whoever starts at quarterback, which in this case will be Trevor Siemian. So Trevor Siemian, he's in line to get another start for the Jets. And I don't really know if Jets fans even bother arguing over what's better for the team, Wilson or Siemian. That's like arguing what's worse, shit or throw up. Like, they're both bad. There's no other way to put it here. Siemian, we can look at his career stats next, but he has not put up anything worthy of really eye-popping performances. I think he had a decent game against the Commanders on Sunday, threw for a little under 300 yards, which for the Jets offense is mind-blowing. But Siemian in his NFL career, I mean, he's going to go up against Joe Flacco, who also used to start for the Denver Broncos, just like Siemian. But for all my Big Ten viewers out there, Trevor Siemian went to Northwestern. He's kind of like Tim Boyle. How did he get into the league? And how is he still in the league? I never thought Trevor Siemian was very good. Now, is he better than Zach Wilson this season? Maybe. Is it saying a lot? No. And if he is better, it's not by a whole lot. So ultimately, the Browns defense is not going to be going up against a very fearful quarterback for the New York Jets, which hopefully will allow Myles Garrett to snap his 5-game skid without a sack, the longest streak in his NFL career. Garrett, weeks 1 through 11, 13 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 11 tackles for loss. Myles Garrett, weeks 12 through 16, numbers speak for themselves. Why is that? Well, I still think Myles Garrett is an effective player. He's doing a great job in run defense. He was instrumental in getting the ball back for the Browns against the Bears, stopping their runs. But I know what happened in Week 12. He suffered that shoulder injury in Denver against the Broncos. He was in a sling after the game, and the Browns were kind of like, he's going to be fine. I feel like Garrett's playing through a major shoulder injury, and that's probably a big reason why we are not seeing as big of numbers and biggest production through the first last 5 weeks or so compared to the first 11 weeks of the season. And despite that, the numbers might not indicate it, but Myles Garrett is still a game wrecker out there. He is still attracting a ton of attention every single week, and that opens things up for other guys on the defensive line. Now, before we get on to the rest of my keys to victory, I want to share with you guys an awesome sponsor we have, which is Prize Picks. The way Prize Picks works is you pick 2 to 6 players. Now, the more players you select, the more potential winnings to be had. So let me show you my selections for Week 17 as an example. I'm taking the more on Amari Cooper's receiving yards at 55.5. I just love that number way too much after he put up 265 last week. I like the more on Jonathan Taylor's rushing yards. Colts are hungry. They are fighting for their playoff lives. Jonathan Taylor's getting healthy. I like that. I also like the more on Kyler Murray, his passing yards against the I beg your pardon, against the Eagles. I feel like the Cardinals are a very different team with Kyler, and they have been getting better and better by the week quietly. And then finally, I took the more on Matthew Stafford's passing yards, as the Rams are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. So if you like my selections, feel free to ride with me, or if you think I'm a big Dumbo, you can fade me, but just make sure you do it at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Because I love you guys so much, I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. Second key to victory, Elijah Moore revenge game. Elijah Moore on Tuesday was asked about, hey, going up against your former team, anything to note? And he downplayed it, but you got to know on the inside, Elijah Moore and the Jets had their differences last year, didn't like his usage, and ultimately that's why the Jets traded their former second-round pick. But a big reason why I want to see Elijah Moore pop off on Sunday is Amari Cooper has been doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the wide receivers this season, and Amari Cooper is going to be in for a tough Thursday night going up against Sauce Gardner, one of the best corners in the league, the reigning rookie defensive player of the year. And so if Sauce Gardner is going to be all over Amari Cooper and maybe not limits him to minimal yards, but not 265 yards and 2 touchdowns, we are going to need someone else to step up a little bit. Because the last time Amari Cooper went up against an elite cornerback like Pat Surtain in Week 12 against the Broncos, he had 2 grabs for 16 yards. Now, Cooper also got banged up in that game in his defense, but still, when you go up against elite cornerbacks, you're not going to be as productive as you are against the Texans secondary, which means someone else is probably going to step up a little bit, and I want that to be Elijah Moore against his former team when the Browns are going to need him the most. Third key to victory for Cleveland. Let's get a fast start, right? The Browns have enjoyed some quick starts this season, and that usually pays off in wins. So let me give you guys some fun stats here. When the Browns give up 7 or more points in the first quarter this year, they are 3-5. Not a disaster. It's not like they can't win if they give up a touchdown in the first quarter. But man, when the Browns defense gives up 0 to 6 points in the first quarter, they are a perfect 7-0. When the Browns defense gets off to a strong start, which they have done pretty much every single home game this year, minus the Ravens game, they dominate. So for the Browns, getting off to a fast start defensively is really crucial for them to find themselves a win. Ultimately, the Jets have not been a fast start kind of team. The Jets, weeks 1 through 15, scored a total of 20 points in the first quarter. 20 in 14 games. Think about that. That's barely averaging a point a game. Meanwhile, in week 16 against the Commies, they scored 17 points in the first quarter. So I'm not quite sure if it's a flash in the pan or if it's them getting into a bit of a rhythm. I'm going to believe that weeks 1 through 15 are right over here are a bigger indicator of their first quarter performances than one game against the Commanders, who are an absolute dumpster fire right now. Whereas Jim Schwartz's defense couldn't be further from that. Now, before we get on to the rest of my keys to victory for the Browns, make sure you subscribe because it's science, baby, right? This is what Fauci was talking about all those years. If you subscribe, the Browns will win. That's what I read. That's what I took away from the CDC. So make sure you hit the sub button down below and help us reach 30,700 subscribers by the time we reach kickoff. Fourth key to victory for Cleveland, figure out the run game. This is not a figure out the run game because without it, the Browns are going to lose. No, the Browns could not run the ball at all against the Texans, against the Bears, and they still won. But this is more of a, hey, if you want to be a competitive team in the postseason, you cannot be way too reliant on passing the football because the Browns' ground game since week 11 is not even averaging 3 yards a pop. I feel like when Jerome Ford or Kareem Hunt gets even 5 yards, hallelujah. This one comes down to execution, right? And this is what I'm talking about. This could become a major problem in the playoffs You do not want to get into the first weekend of January trying to figure out how to fix the ground game. No. Use the last 2 weeks of the regular season to propel yourself into a good spot on the ground going into the playoffs. This is just execution. Offensive line needs to do a better job run blocking, and this is where you wish you were a little bit more healthy. And the running backs, they are not off the hook either. Kareem Hunt clearly lacks that burst to jump through holes and turn 2 or 3 yard gains into 6 or 7 yard gains. And Jerome Ford just needs to work on his vision altogether. But this could become a major problem in the playoffs. Better to fix that now against the Jets than the wild card weekend on the road go, man, the opposing team is really zeroed in on Flacco, and we can't get anything going on the ground. We are left with our pants next to our ankles. All right, fifth and final key to victory. Play 60 minutes. Do I need to add any more? Don't play 58 minutes. Don't play 59 minutes. Play 60 minutes. Because you learned last time you played the Jets at Cleveland what happens if you don't play 60 minutes. That's all. So predict the score for me down below in the comment section. Browns versus Jets. I'm going to give you my score prediction in just a moment, but I do want to know your score prediction down below. I am smelling an ass kicking. Give me the Browns 30-7. In this show, I was like, oh, maybe it'll be a little closer, 30-17. No, F that. I think this is going to be a Cleveland steamer. They are going to roll all over the Jets. All flights will be grounded out of LaGuardia. Give me the Browns 30-7.